It's not always about throwing the football 40 times. It's not always about trying to keep the defense apart from the pocket. Sometimes you got to get out and get jiggy with it.
You're obviously the newest college football game analyst for Fox, so congratulations. What was it like stepping into the booth and calling games with your partner, Jason Benetti?
Yeah, Jason Benetti, Alexa Lannister is our sideline reporter. We got Bo Garrett and Darren Foster also there in the truck, doing an amazing job. They've honestly made me feel at home. Being away from it for a year, I was able to get back out there, and it just felt like this is what God's called me to do. Call games, have a good time. Right. They're an amazing crew. Jason's super smart. And Fox Sports also brought in a podcast, Out of Pocket with RGIII, co-hosted by myself and my wife. And we're having a lot of fun doing that, just covering sports the way that we want to.
Yeah, well, that's amazing to hear. Got to get your take here on the early going here for Arch. Obviously, week one against Ohio State was kind of disappointing, and then it even cooled down after, a fast start in week two against San Jose State. So from your perspective, what do you make of Arch's season so far, and what do you feel like we're going to be talking about come season's end?
Yeah, I think Arch Manning is a young quarterback. And for a guy going into his fourth start to go up against the number 3 team in the country in Ohio State, that's got one of the best rosters in all of football, and he struggled. And I think that's okay. I was more disappointed just in the reaction from some in the media, basically claiming that he can't do it, he can't do this, and he's not this. And I think we've gotten too much into what people can't do, and we need to get a little bit better at talking about what people can and uplifting them and giving criticism from that standpoint. Going against San Jose State, I tweeted out that Arch Manning haters are real quiet right now because, he was able to bounce back. And that's what you want to see. The guy scores 5 touchdowns in a game. That's a bounce back. I don't care who it's against. Right. It's great for his confidence. I think we'll be talking about Texas in the national championship hunt by season's end. And I think the conversation around Arch Manning will move right back towards him being the number 1 overall pick in the draft if he decides to come out.
Speaking of uplifting others in this process, are there any other young studs you think we should be talking about more, maybe some early Heisman favorites?
Yeah, I think Sawyer Robertson from Baylor, quarterbacks, threw for 419 yards and 440 yards in his first 2 weeks, 7 touchdown passes, having a great comeback victory against number 17 SMU. I think he's playing like a top 10 pick in the draft. I think he is the best quarterback in the country right now. And I think people need to start showing him a little bit more love. And also Byron Brown, quarterback at University of South Florida, USF. Alex Golish got his guys out there balling, winning 2 top 25 matchups the first 2 weeks of the season for them, knocking off Boise State, really manhandling them, and then knocking off Florida, the Florida Gators. I think he should be talked about a lot more than he is right now.
I like that. Switching over here to the NFL very quickly, I want to go back 2 weeks when you called for the Browns to trade Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. And now that we're a week into the season, do you still feel like that is a move they should make? And if so, where do you feel like Shedeur would fit in, or what situation do you feel like would be right for him if they did?
Yeah, this, the move cycle, the news cycle moves so quickly. When I made that statement about them needing to trade Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, it was to kind of alleviate some of the back and forth that was going on in the media about who should be the guy, who shouldn't be the guy. You never want to have that situation. But as soon as they traded Kenny Pickett, now you can't trade either guy because you need him for the season. Dillon Gabriel became the backup. After watching Joe Flacco go out there, I fully believe that the Browns have the hardest 5-game stretch of any team in the league coming up next, including games against the Ravens and the Lions and the Steelers, who look really good on offense. If they start 0-6, they have to go ahead and move forward and start Dillon Gabriel and then see what they have with him and also Shedeur Sanders, because they'd be picking probably number 1 overall going into the next draft, and they got to determine do they have the quarterback of their future on their roster. So, I'm a believer in Joe Flacco. I was teammates with him. I know he throws one of the prettiest balls, and he's a Super Bowl MVP and Super Bowl champ. But if the Cleveland Browns start the season 0-6, they need to move over to either Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders.
Right. Jumping over to your former team here in Washington, they play Thursday night, week 2, tough opponent in Green Bay. What do you make of that matchup? And also, do you think that the Commanders team can replicate the success that it had last season?
Whew, that is a loaded question because going to the NFC Championship game is not very easy to do and replicate. But what I
Right.
took away positive from the Commanders in Week 1 against the Giants was, yes, they gave up 3 sacks to that unbelievable Giants front. With Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns, but they shut them down in the second half and really protected Jayden much better. So now you're going up
Mhm.
against guys like Sean Gary, Micah Parsons, and that Packers front that really had a field day Week 1. I mean, they shut down the Lions, and that's a very high profile, prolific offense. So I'm looking to see how they handle the pressure with Micah being there second week, really second game playing in that system. Because
Mhm.
defensively, the Commanders looked unbelievable. Russell Wilson completed less than 50% of his passes. They sacked him 2 times, and the secondary looked like a strength. So I think that is going to be a major factor in this game. Can Jordan Love and this Packers offense, throw the football because Washington looked like they were ready to sniff out and shut down the running game.
Right. And Jayden Daniels specifically had a phenomenal rookie season. What's that benchmark for building on this year? What do you specifically want to see from him, I guess?
Yeah, he had talked about wanting to improve on his intermediate passing. He threw the ball really well deep down the field with Scary Terry making a bunch of plays last year, and their screen game was effective. What I want to see from Jayden is I just don't want to see him press. In this first game of the year against the Giants, I felt like he took what the game gave him. He didn't try to press or do anything too Superman-y, because, like I said, the only reason the Commanders made it to the NFC Championship game wasn't just because of Jayden Daniels. It was because the way their team as a whole collectively played and how patient he
Mhm.
was. So I just want to continue to see him be patient, improve on the intermediate passing game, but they have to get Scary Terry rolling. He should never come out of a game with less than 5 to 7 targets. And in Week 1, he didn't have that. You didn't pay him all that money to not throw him the football.
Right. Looking at some of the other young quarterbacks across the league right now, like Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck. Which team would you bet on giving the young quarterback the best chance to shine if you had to choose?
Oh, that is it's. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't
Like,
think
okay,
I've ever.
this situation.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback like do what Cam Ward did in Week 1, where you lose the game and you don't have a lot of prolific plays that happen, but your quarterback played his tail off. Cam Ward's
Mm,
tape was incredible. Ball placement, anticipation, trust, and they just had a lot of drops. A lot of plays were not made around him, and I think if he keeps his standard high and he continues to demand greatness out of his team, I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to have a quarterback that really makes you remember the Titans.
right. For Jackson Dart, he's got a cannon of an arm, but still needs some time. If you were mentoring him, what would be that number one drill or number one message you'd be drilling into him when it comes to transitioning into this league?
Yeah, for Jackson Dart, I've been a believer in him for a long time. I watched him outduel Jayden Daniels when he was at Ole Miss and Jayden was at LSU in a big time primetime matchup. My advice to him would be don't try to play quarterback, just play football. And what I mean by that is a lot of times guys come into the league and they try to prove that they have to do it a certain way or I can do it from the pocket, and it's like, but that's not what wins in the game of football. Being a
Mm-hmm.
quarterback is more than just about your arm. It's about your mind, it's about your toughness, your poise, and if you have an elite trait of being able to use your legs to move the chains, then you have to use that. So I thought Jackson did a great job of that in the preseason, running when it was there, making the plays and the throws when they were there. That would be my advice to him, to just continue down that path of let me do whatever it takes to keep my team on the field and help us win games. It's not always about throwing the football 40 times. It's not always about trying defense apart from the pocket. Sometimes you got to get out and get jiggy with it and he can do that for sure.
So we talked about giving players some grace. When it comes to Russ, I know everybody wants to, kind of call for his name. So I'm curious where you fall in that conversation. Do you feel like people are overreacting? Do you feel like since he's a vet, he should be given a leash? How are you on that conversation?
No, I mean, I think that Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl champion, and he wasn't the reason that they lost the game against the Commanders. I think he's earned that respect. I think there's a lot of people out there who have ulterior motives when it comes to Russ, and I don't think that's fair to him, fair to his family, or the player that he is, or the Giants organization. So I think Russell Wilson has earned the right, and he should earn the respect from a lot of the media to not try to can him right away after they play their first game of the year. If the Giants start 0-4, let's have the conversation. But right now they're 0-1, and they're going into the next week with Russell Wilson as their starter.
Caleb Williams' rookie year was pretty notable for his ability to avoid turnovers. He had only 6 interceptions and 562 passes. So do you value that more than big play upside in a quarterback? What's the balance?
Caleb Williams didn't play bad on Monday night. They just didn't win the game. And at the end of the day, protecting the football is important. He made some special plays, scramble plays that very few quarterbacks can make. And I think personally, a coach would rather have a guy with huge upside in his playmaking ability, like Caleb, who protects the ball, than to have a guy who's going to throw a ton of interceptions and put the ball in harm's way. He missed some throws, missed the throw to DJ Moore down the sideline that he should have hit. But if you look at any quarterback, you could say those same things. I just think that right now, Caleb Williams, there's a lot of negativity surrounding him from years past or last year. And he's just got to continue to play the way that he is. If he played the way that he did on Monday night for the rest of the season, I think the Bears are going to win a lot of games. They just got to go win them because that's the only way you quiet the noise.